Hey, thanks for joining me. We're going to talk about how to engage your audience in presentation. And I'm excited to talk to you about this because I have so many cool ideas that I've used for so many years. This is how I've become a Hall of Fame speaker, and I'm excited for you to engage your audience in an even greater way. You've probably seen some speakers that are awesome at this and other speakers that absolutely fall flat because they don't engage their audience. Well, unfortunately, too many people don't think about it, and they just keep giving the same presentation over and over again. But I'm proud of you for finding me here, and you're going to figure out how to engage your audience even better. In fact, I have 7 specific points and tips that are going to help you, and it's going to transform the way that you are engaging and interacting with the audience. And in fact, number 6 to me might be the secret of them all, and that's something I've been using to make millions of dollars as a speaker through the years. So thanks for joining me. I'm Jason Hewlett. Let's dive in. So tip number 1, always start with a story. Yeah, I've made other videos about this where people have said, what story do you start with? Is it your best story? What do you do? And I like to say, save the best story for last. Maybe share your second or third best story at the beginning because you know it's going to be a great one. And then obviously you can share any amount of stories you want throughout. But starting with a story is a great way to interact with your audience. In fact, this is one of the best things that I've seen anybody do is when you stand up on stage and you just crank right into the story. Now, I personally don't do that immediately. I'll usually ask a question and then I'll frame that to lead into the story. But I've seen people that stand up on stage and say, it was 1963 and I was standing on top of a mountain, and they're into the story. Okay, so here we go. And it actually makes the audience quite engaged right away. One of the ways that I like to do this also is I might share a story that I can either decide to tie up right then and there, or I can leave it open-ended for me to tie up later at the end. So it's a nice way to be able to frame your speech so it keeps the audience engaged the entire time. You leave them on a cliffhanger. They're wondering what's going to happen in this story. For example, I'll share the story of when I was 25 years old and just starting my career in Las Vegas. I was sitting across the table from a hotel billionaire who wanted to make me the next superstar in Las Vegas. As I mulled over that decision, I had to consider for myself, what are my promises to me? And what is it that I should do for my career, that I want to do something this significant already? Or if I should wait, maybe I should hold back, maybe I should go for it. What should I do? And then I'll end the story right there, but with a hook to say, maybe I'll tell you guys what I decided to do later. Now they're listening the whole time, waiting for me to tell the rest of the story. Did he accept the Las Vegas contract? Did he go for it? Or what did he do? The truth of it is, because I'm not going to make you hang on that, but I decided to turn Las Vegas away, and instead I went into the corporate market as a speaker and performer there. And that was me keeping a promise to myself. And so I can wrap that story up right then and there, and then I can go into my speech, or I can leave it as a cliffhanger. And it actually is a nice way with the cliffhanger. At the very end, people are like, oh, I wondered what he did. And that's a really great way. So start with the story. That's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is to use interactive questions. So this is a tricky and dicey one. Depends on the question. I'll be candid with you. I've seen speakers get on stage and botch this in a bad way. And it's just due to bad habits. And it's probably from someone who trained them how to do that. I've seen a lot of speakers get on stage and they go, hey everybody, are you ready to have fun? Yes or yes? And then everyone's like, yes. And they go, yeah, we're going to make sure that you're saying yes. And so everybody, are you happy to be here? Yes or yes? And everyone's like, yes. And actually it kind of turns the audience off a bit when it's the yes or yes guy. And so I'd be careful with how you do it. Maybe ask a real and genuine question rather than just the yes or yes guy. The reason they do that is because they're making the audience now say yes to everything. And so by the end, they've now sold them on a product. So by the end, the audience is like, yes, I'll buy whatever you sell because you trained me to say yes to everything. I don't like that tactic. That's an absolute sleazy deal. But some people pull it off in a genuine way and it's not as gross. But I can say I like to ask questions of things like, why set a goal when you can make a promise? And that's not to say that a goal's not important, but if you've ever set a goal and you miss it, you just set another one. Whereas if you make a promise and break it, that's a one and done. So what are your promises? And what are your sacred goals? What are your non-negotiables? That whole concept or question within the statement of that sets me up for a lot of success because the audience is thinking, what is the difference between a goal and a promise? What are my promises compared to my goals? And then I can lean into my speech from there. So an interactive question is very important. Tip number 3 is to incorporate multimedia. I've seen a lot of speakers do this really well, and a lot of the time it's because they've accomplished something that you cannot actually talk about, in a way that would evoke the emotion that needs to come out with a video or with music. For example, I saw a speaker named Aaron Ralston. If you're familiar with his story, he's written the book Stuck Between a Rock and a Hard Place. It was about when he was climbing in southern Utah and a rock fell and it grabbed his arm, or it fell on his arm. He was stuck for 127 hours under the rock, and he realized he had to leverage himself enough to break his own arm, cut his own arm off. Yeah, gruesome, right? Well, he can tell that story, and he does, but he had a movie made about him, and that's where using multimedia is really effective. You see, he just shares the trailer of the movie, and everyone's like, even if they've heard the story, even though they know what happens at the end because he comes on stage without an arm, I mean, they know what the ending is, and yet he makes it compelling because he's showing a video that's so awesome about this movie about his life. So go check out 127 Hours. It's a great movie. And I've seen other people that have gone viral for something really important or done a great TED Talk. Maybe they've had some accomplishment where they went viral because they made something funny, or they, like a Mr. Beast type of a video. And so people will share a snippet of that. It gives them credibility, and then they can talk for the rest of the time. That's a great way to interact with your audience, is through video. Tip number 4 is to move around the stage. Now, be careful how you do this because you could look too spastic and running around and moving back and forth. I would say pick your spots. When you're telling a certain story, you could stand in a certain spot, or when you're giving a certain data point, you could stand in another spot. But engaging the audience through movement, unfortunately, a lot of stages are huge, and a lot of audiences are sitting there thinking to themselves, well, why isn't he using that whole stage? They would be thrilled if somebody did, and when somebody does, they see what's possible in terms of that whole staging. It's a nice thing. And so when I think about it for myself, what is my body movement? How am I engaging? Am I able to talk to these people over here and these people over here, and opening my body up in terms of the entirety of the audience? And so think about your body, think about staging, think about how you can utilize the entirety of the space. Tip number 5 is to use visual aids, use props, those types of things, because if you want to really engage the audience in some fun ways, I saw a speaker recently, her name is Christine Cashin. She had some killer props that were such great ideas. In fact, she's talking about being fully present, being engaged, and at the same time making fun of the fact that everybody's on their phone at all times, but you can't tell they're on their phone because they have a little thing in their ear, so they're just talking randomly. So she pulls out this old-time telephone, just the phone with the long cord, and she pulls it out and the cord is really long. And so she says, this is actually my Bluetooth. And so she'll walk down the airport and it plugs in the end into her phone at the bottom. So she's walking and twirling the cord and talking into this old-time phone. It's a great prop, but it drives the point home of being fully present, or communicating to people in a way that I'm on my phone. You can use any kind of prop on stage that makes things interesting. You could use glasses, you could do a hat, you could even use like an iPad or something on stage to drive a point home, and to share props is a fun way. Okay, I promised you that number 6 would be the secret weapon that I've been using for my entire career, and that would be engage with humor. Humor, for whatever reason, is the elixir. It's the highest level for a speaker to be able to have something that they can say that is funny. The audience wants to laugh most of the time, unless they're a certain type that just doesn't laugh out loud. But for me, humor is my secret weapon. And so I'm going to do anything I can to make it so that I can share something funny, whether it's something I came up with or something I've noticed about the event. Now, this is where my secret weapon for interacting with the audience has come in. And I mean, I've even done events where I've been the MC for days on end, and it's hard to connect with the audience because I never have a long enough time on stage to really connect. And so using humor allows that connection quicker. In fact, this happened recently. I was at an event and the CEO and president stood up on stage and he announced a couple of new products. It was a fairly boring speech, if you will, quote unquote. But then he said, and this was so interesting as I was listening, and I'm always taking notes, just so you know, as an MC or a speaker, you want to be taking notes on what people are saying because you could possibly use what I'm about to show you. He said something to the effect of, we've now decided with the new products we're launching to get rid of fusion. And the crowd went, yeah! And they stood up and cheered and high-fived. And everyone was laughing. He goes, I know, we all hate fusion. We're finally getting rid of it. And I looked around and went, huh, I have no idea what fusion is, but apparently this is resonating with this audience. And so what did I do? A smart speaker would integrate that into their speech, right? And so all I did was, after he was done speaking, is I stood up and I said, thank you to the president and CEO, what a great speech. And apparently, which I didn't know was going to be happening next, we're going to be having a memorial service in the other room for fusion. And the crowd went crazy over that line. I don't even know what fusion is. It's not something we could have a memorial service for, but they loved it. And so that became a callback that I used for the rest of the time. I didn't use it every time I took the stage, but if something didn't land, it was almost like when somebody says, you know, our football school rules, and then you just start to yell the name of the high school or something. And so then I would come out and be like, hey, you guys, that speech was awesome. We got a lot of points out of it, and I can tell you, we didn't have enough laughs, unfortunately. So fusion, and then everyone would laugh. That kind of a thing works really well. So that's a secret weapon I would say you can use. Add humor. Now, tip number 7 is to facilitate interactive activities. And the best way to do this, in my opinion, is either to have everyone stand up and do something, or to just engage with one another by saying, hey, share where you're from with the person next to you and the reason that you're here at this conference. And they'll turn and talk. Or you can have music playing. They can go around, do high fives. There's all kinds of interactive audience participation things you can do. There's other things like Mentimeter, where you would have to do some preparation. And that's an online game that shows up on the screen. And you just say, hey, everybody, use this QR code or use this on your text and text in this certain name and number, and it's going to pop up so that you can answer some of these questions. That's a really cool way to interact with the audience. So what I'd like you to do, if you will, is please put into the comments which of these you're going to integrate in your next presentation. And I'm excited for you because you're now going to make this way more interactive than most speakers ever do. I hope especially that you'll consider humor and do it in an appropriate way, in a way that brings everybody up and makes it fun. I also want to tell you about something that's exciting that we've created. It's a community of speakers that are working to get better at it, whether it's interaction or making their presentation better in terms of slides and other types of technicalities, but it's a community of speakers, from Hall of Famers to people just starting out. It's a community called Liftoff Lab. Lift off as in a plane lifting off, just like you as a speaker lifting off to being more interactive, engaging with your audience. Go check out liftofflab.com. I hope you'll join us there. We have a lot of great conversations and amazing people. So thank you so much for watching this video.